August 15th. And again, we'd like to welcome you to our meeting of the Board of Education here. All of our meetings have been posted on our websites, in our buildings, they're everywhere, central office and things of that nature. Today's agenda has been posted, and there is a copy in the back if you would like to have one to follow along with the events of this meeting. Again, our board members do receive the board materials ahead of time in a packet to review so that they may be well informed and prepared to comment and ask questions in order to participate fully in the discussion and duties of their office. This is the district's business. This is not considered a public community meeting. We do recognize the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves in the district on such matters, and there is a public comment portion on the agenda for that. We do request respectfully that each interested participant complete a public comment card and provide it to the president to ensure that a prompt response may be given. With that said, let's do our Pledge of Allegiance. That said, let's do roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Mrs. Berry here. Mr. Carlson.
Here.
Mrs. Lesh is absent. Dr. Carlin.
Here.
Mrs. Ryder. Here. And Dr. Burnett.
Here. Moving on to item D, adoption of the agenda. May we have a motion, please?
I motion the agenda for the board meeting on August 15th, 2022 be adopted as written. Support.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to recognition of visitors, we'd like to welcome you all to our Board of Education meeting. Anything else to add, Ms. Robinson?
Yes, we have Mr. Adam Burke from the Buchanan Area Senior Center here. He is going to be speaking later on in the meeting. And then we also have our new principal, Michael Babcock, in the back with his family. He's going to speak as well just in a few minutes. So.
Okay, thank you. With that said there, let's have a motion to go into closed session.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. I move the Buchanan Board of Education moves into closed session for a hearing on student discipline, student number 455-250-3561.
Very good, and the time is 6:07 there, Katie?
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Yep. All right, let's do roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. like to have a motion to return to open session?
I move the Buchanan Board of Education resolves to return to open session.
Support.
And roll call?
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. And that's at 6:29 PM. And we'll go ahead with the motion of student reinstatement. And I'll read it. The Buchanan Board of Education approves the recommendation to reinstate student number 45525035561, effective the first semester of the 2022-2023 school year.
Support.
All right. And roll call.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item G, Points of Pride. First item is Band Camp Week. Ms. Robinson?
Yes, I just wanted to celebrate our band getting through a very hot and humid week of band camp, and then also ending with a very special performance that happened the Friday of Thrill on the Hill. So the formation was really nice. The music was nice, was engaging and uplifting. So I want to thank all of the band director, Mrs. Russell, for putting in the time, and then all of the aides that came as well, support groups, her volunteers and her parents that also put on, that were there for the camp. In performance, and were able to speak and highlight some of the special things that the band is doing. So thank you to the band, Buchanan High School Marching Band, for their work during that week.
All right.
And then just that the athletics began, I think last week. Sunday night, we held the Meet the Teams night. It was well attended by many parents and students, and a great way to showcase all of our talent and all of our teams at this event. So,
Wow, awesome.
Yep.
All right, very good. Moving on to item H, Superintendent and Department Reports, and Ms. Robinson.
Yes, so it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Michael Babcock. I believe he is on the agenda tonight to be approved, and I invited him to the meeting to speak. He is the new principal of Moccasin Elementary. He is here with his family, and he can introduce his family as he comes up. So he started, August 1st, 2nd, and was off and running, meeting with staff, was already in PBIS meetings, meeting with parents, just already engaged. He was there last night, helping with support of the marketing piece, so welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Tonight I have my family here tonight. I have my beautiful wife, April, and my two daughters, Abigail and Blair. My son, Garrett, he's at home. He had to work at Martin's tonight. So. President Burnett, Mrs. Robinson, members of the board, I'm honored tonight to be coming to you as principal of Moccasin Elementary. I've been an educator for 23 years, 13 of those as a high school teacher, and the other 10 as an administrator at the high school, middle school, and elementary levels. Although I've only been at Moccasin for 2 weeks, I've been impressed with the great sense of community throughout Buchanan. I have spoken to many stakeholders who express their pride they have in this town and the school district. People who have attended school here and have chosen to stay and raise their family because of the great things that are not only going on in the schools, but also the community. These conversations have only solidified my excitement in coming to Buchanan. I would like to thank Mrs. Robinson and the interview committee for bringing me on board at Moccasin. I also want to thank my family and my 3 children, and especially my wife, April, for their unending support. I'm excited to serve the community and to continue the great traditions of Moccasin Elementary, where we will ultimately be committed to creating a safe and positive learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Babcock, and welcome. Glad to have you. All right. And next.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Babcock. And next, we have Adam Burke. He is here, he's the Executive Director of the Buchanan Area Senior Center. And he is here to present some information regarding a fundraiser, which is later on in the packet as well. So I wanted him to be able to explain and share what this fundraiser is all about.
Thank you. If you're not familiar with the senior center or haven't been there recently, we're doing a small expansion there. We're enclosing the covered patio, and I've brought just some pictures so you see the progress. These are all the same. Blanks. But it's going to be about a $175,000 project altogether. So we're doing as many fundraisers as we can to raise the money for that. And it was kind of began in the pandemic when we had gathering restrictions, and we have this very large main room, but then some smaller satellite rooms, which with social distancing weren't very useful for programs. So we had our big main room, and when you have a gathering restriction of 10, and most of our programs are typically 30 people or more, it really reduced our capacity and the ability for us to serve our patrons. So we started thinking about ways that we could alleviate that in the future, and the first idea that was kind of discussed in the past prior to my arrival there was enclosing the patio to expand the facility. So we decided to move forward with that, and in the process, of course, we're doing fundraisers, and as I mentioned, one fundraiser we wanted to do, our new admin assistant, who wasn't able to be here tonight, unfortunately, she's sick. It's not COVID. But she runs Niles Music and More, which is they present the concerts on the river and the movies. And one of the fundraisers they do is they do ornaments, Christmas ornaments, that have images of different landmarks in Niles. So I have examples. They're the same example. The Niles High School is one of their best-selling ornaments. And given that this year it's the 100th anniversary of our high school, where we are right now, we decided, well, let's see if you guys are okay with us using the image. We thought maybe of using also the logo, the Bucks logo, but when we looked at how it's reproduced, it wasn't going to be reproduced nice enough on the ornament to make it worth doing. So we're looking at doing an image of the high school, whether it's the historic one that you use for the 100th or another one. We're asking you if it's okay for us to use that image on the ornament. We sell those for $25, and so about half of that is profit for the program. And we're going to also do one of the senior center as well. So there'll be two ornaments for you guys to collect. So that's why I came, is to ask if we didn't want to do it and kind of surprise you without letting you know that this is one thing we're trying to do to close the gap on raising those funds.
Questions?
What's involved in the project besides, is the 175, is that just to enclose the patio, or do you guys have other things you're doing to the center?
Well, it includes the costs of the interior furnishings as well. We're making it into a 4-season space, so HVAC, electric, the flooring. The cost of construction alone is $160. I mean, with the pandemic and the supply chain, the costs for things have really gone up. And so we've been lucky so far, although now we're in this 5-week lull with getting the sliders to fully enclose the space. We can't do the interior until the space is sealed and we can climate control it. So they can't put the flooring in. They were able to paint, but they can't do the flooring and a couple other minor things until the space is closed. So we're waiting. I guess they're on the way now from Texas where the pieces were manufactured. That's the only thing that wasn't made in Michigan is actually the sliders. Midwest Glass manufactured everything else. So now we're just waiting for that to arrive, and then we'll be able to finish the project.
What kind of space does that add? What kind of square footage does that add to the center?
About 1,000 square feet. Yeah. Yeah, we were a little surprised by the pricing, but, you know, it went up some after we started looking into it. Of course, every month you wait, in the time that we were looking meant that prices were going up.
Other questions? All right. All right.
So I don't know, does that require a motion, or?
It'll be later on in
Yeah.
the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It's already
Adam, for
written
your
down.
presentation there.
Thank you.
All right. Going on to information and reports. In the Human Resources Committee,
The group met on August 3rd. It was Ruth Ryder, myself, Kelly, Trish, and Carrie. We discussed openings from resignations, new hires. We were pleased with how many new hires there had been, some great progress on filling some positions, and then some additional position changes because we were getting people in their long-term spots. We had lots of moving pieces. The positions that were currently posted, as well as we talked about a letter of agreement on the CAP classes that were required in order to move classes on the coaching items. There is one question outstanding on that, which is just how those classes are determined. So it's something to look at as we're updating this, making sure that we're looking at it from a complete view. And that was really our discussion. So it was a good meeting. Lots of positives to discuss, which was nice.
very good. Facilities Planning Committee,
I'll take it, Chris, if you want.
Oh, go ahead.
We met on August 11th, Chris Lee, Ruth Ryder, and myself, along with Trish, Carey, Mark Kurland, and Nate Will. Most of the meeting centered around the two items later in the agenda. We have two buses that are essentially useless, looking at donating those for fire department training if they want them, / scrapping them. And the other one's a letter agreement on where the buses will be housed at night, basically letting employees have those at home, employees that live in the district. And then Mr. Kerling gave a quick rundown on some of the things that are going on with operations right now. I forgot Phil's behind us. Phil Place was also in the meeting and gave an update on the high school network infrastructure rewire from this summer. That went exceptionally well.
If you do say so.
okay, very good.
Yes, it did.
All right, good. Curriculum and Planning Committee.
Okay, so that was my second meeting on August 11th with Dr. Carlin, with Mrs. Robinson, with Carrie, with Mark Kurland, and we discussed a little bit about the bus situation, and we also went through the curriculum and what is happening with materials and a plan for those materials and a long-range plan, including all of the different academic areas. So it was a good meeting, and we've got lots to look forward to.
Very good. All right. Moving on to item J, public comment. And at this point in time, I do not have any public comment cards. So I think we're going to move on to item K, adoption of the consent agenda. We have a motion.
I move the Buchanan Board of Education approves the consent agenda for the regular board meeting of August 15th, 2020 be adopted as written. Included are minutes from our work session on July 18th, and then that was followed by our regular meeting. Both of those minutes are included. Our warrants, which are the Treasury and expenditure reports for July 2022, employment contracts for the 2022-2023 school year, Miranda Capron, interventionist, Sandy Emmerich, interventionist, Karen McGuire, interventionist, Dodie Prince, interventionist, Donna Southwell, interventionist, Christine Taylor, interventionist, Jody Tittle, interventionist, Donna Trigg, interventionist, Douglas Zendil, interventionist, and Ryan Franzak, interventionist and Dean of Students. Also included is the amended employment contract for Laura Morris, custodial and operations pay rate amendment, and recommendations to hire as submitted by our high school principal, Mr. Brian Pruitt, our transportation supervisor, Mr. Nate Will, superintendent, Mrs. Patricia Robinson, and Buchanan Middle School principal, Shelby Beasley. They include Jordan Hurst, instrumentalist, music aid, I'll get it right. Lindsay Adams, marching band percussion instructor. Jacqueline Tidy, BHS special education teacher. Jamie Schneck, marching band color guard instructor. Michael Babcock, Moccasin Elementary principal. Rosemary Riggins, substitute bus driver. Valerie Phillips, substitute bus driver. Aaron Cracky, 6th and 7th grade technology teacher. Coaching recommendations for the fall 2022-23 submitted by Assistant Athletic Coordinator Mr. Ryan Franzak. They include Sarah Blair, our 7th grade volleyball coach, Josh Wegner, middle school cross country. And then finally, resignations by Cindy Stacy, 1st grade teacher, Belinda Vaz, Moccasin interventionist, and Marion Hurd, Ottawa administrative assistant.
Second.
Support. Oh.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Sorry. Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L1, BVA graduation certification.
Make a motion that upon satisfactory completion of district requirements for high school graduation, the Board of Education hereby approves Buchanan Virtual Academy student Reem Cato.
Support.
All right. Anything to add, Mrs. Robin?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Roll call.
I was already moving on. Mr. Lee.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm losing it.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. I guess that happens when you're hungry. All right. L2, BVA course offerings.
I move the Board of Education approves the courses for the 2022-23 school year to be offered through Buchanan Virtual Academy as submitted.
Support.
All right. Ms. Robson?
This is an annual resolution where all course offerings do have to be approved by our board, so.
I read through those, and those are amazing electives. Some are, we've not seen in a school for a long time, so I was impressed by their course offerings.
Roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L3, 2022-2023 administrative contracts.
I motion the Buchanan Board of Education approves the annual district administrative contracts for the 2022-2023 school year from August 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Support.
And Ms. Robson?
Just hopefully you approve them. We do need those administrators.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L4, BEA letter of agreement, athletic CAP classes.
Make a motion that the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education approves the attached letter of agreement with the Buchanan Education Association for athletic cap classes.
Support.
Ms. Robinson, anything new?
Nothing else to add other than what Mrs. Berry has already spoke about.
Okay. And roll call.
Oh, that's me. Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L5, transportation letter of agreement, special trip assignment process.
I move the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education approves the attached letter of agreement with the Buchanan Community Schools Transportation Association for the special trip assignment process.
Support.
Ms. Robinson, anything to add?
No, this process, they were already using the process, and we just need to make it official by having this letter of agreement.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L6, use of logo. May we have a motion, please?
A motion?
I move that Buchanan Board of Education will allow the Buchanan Area Senior Center to use an image of Buchanan High School along with the Buck logo to create ornaments to sell.
Support.
All right, we just heard the
Chris
presentation from Adam from the Senior Center. All right, we can go ahead with roll call.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Yes. Moving on to item L7, resolution to call bond election.
Sorry, which one, Harvey?
Should be the
L7.
item 7.
Resolution.
7.
This one? Who has a copy of it to read it? Is it-
So that's,
We
You
can-
want to do the,
it's
We might be able to. Sure.
the whereas.
I can do it. But it, yeah, front and back. I got you.
Yeah.
you got it?
You got it, or you want me to do it?
I can go. So.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Whereas pursuant to the Michigan election law, the district's regular school election shall be held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of even years. It is necessary to conduct the district's regular election on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, to fill one or more board positions. Number 3. In the opinion of this board, it is necessary and expedient to ask voters whether to approve a bond project consisting of erecting, furnishing, and equipping additions to Moccasin Elementary School, remodeling, furnishing, and refurnishing, and equipping and re-equipping school buildings, acquiring and installing instructional technology and instructional technology equipment for school buildings, erecting, furnishing, and equipping a bus garage, and preparing, developing, improving, and equipping athletic fields, athletic facilities, playgrounds, and sites. Number 4. This board estimates the necessary cost of the project to be $35,278,328. Number 5. It will be necessary for the district to borrow the sum of $34,970,000 and issue the bonds of the district thereof. Therefore, the remaining funds to be derived from the investment on the bond proceeds. 6. On or before 4 p.m. on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, the board shall certify any ballot proposition to be submitted to the voters at such election to the election coordinator or coordinators designated to conduct elections within the district, the election coordinator. Now therefore it be resolved that, number 1, the regular school election of the school electors of the district be called and held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Number 2, the proposition to be voted on at the regular school election shall be stated on the ballots in substantially the form as set forth in Exhibit A. Number 3, the election coordinator is requested to A, utilize Niles Daily Star or Leader Publications, a newspaper published or of general circulation within the district for publication of notices in accordance with the election law requirements. B, utilize ballot proposition summary information as prepared by legal counsel in the forms of the notices of last day of registration and election in substantially the form as set forth in Exhibit B attached hereto. C, provide a proof copy of the ballot to the district and its legal counsel in sufficient time to allow the ballot to be proofread prior to printing. Number 4, this board estimates the period of usefulness of the improvements for which bonds of the district in the amount of $34,970,000, are to be issued to be not less than 28 years. Number 5, the secretary of this board is hereby authorized and directed to file a copy of this resolution with the election coordinator and with any election clerk or clerks designated to conduct elections within the district by 4:00 p.m. on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Number 6, all resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded.
All right. Second?
Support.
Well, thank you.
All right. And Ms. Robinson, this is what we have to have as far as our bond
This is
language
what we,
too.
yes, to be placed on the ballot, and we need to, once it's done and signed, we'll run it down tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Roll call.
Thanks. Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item L8, Transportation Letter of Agreement, Housing Buses.
I move that the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education approves the attached letter of agreement with the Buchanan Community Schools Transportation Association for the housing of buses.
Support.
And Ms. Robinson?
Yep, and this was spoken about. Chris Carlson spoke about that during his update.
Okay, very good. Roll call.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Which one?
Yes.
Sorry.
There's multiple versions of me somewhere. All right, L9, donate scrap buses. Motion.
Motion, the Buchanan Board of Education approves the following recommendations by Transportation Supervisor Nate Will. Donate or scrap old bus number 8, which is a 2012 Bluebird Vision. Donate or scrap bus 11, which is a 2010 Bluebird Vision.
Support.
Yeah.
All right, and that was talked about as well. And let's go ahead with, excuse me, roll call.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry? Yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to question and comments from board members.
I'd like to thank Belinda Vaz, who I saw was retiring, and I actually looked in her letter to see if she listed how long she's been here, and maybe Ruth. I was in Moccasin in the early, mid-'80s, and she was there. And I don't think she left. She's changed titles, but, yeah, it wasn't in her letter, but I'd love to know when she started, because I don't remember Buchanan Schools without her. So thank you, Mrs. Vaz, for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, I agree. I echo your comments there. I had her as a teacher, and she was wonderful. So thank you for all of her service to our community.
I'm betting she came in about 79 or 80. So that's a long time. Yeah. Maybe even longer. I would like to wish all of the Buchanan students good luck at the fair this week. It's going to be an exciting time for all of them, and everyone finds a niche, whether it's the fair or athletics or choir or band or drama or close-up. everyone finds a niche, and for many, it's this week and Fair Week. So, and also, school starts soon, and oh my gosh, what an exciting year. And as a teacher for so many of those years, I know how the teachers are thinking this week, like, where did June and July go? And oh my gosh, who are my students in my class? So I wish each and every one, from the custodians to the teachers and the administrators, a very great 2022-2023 year. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that real quick, including Mr. Babcock here tonight, we have a lot of administrators in new positions and going into the school year, and I just was thinking about that during the meeting tonight and thinking that the community should feel good about the state of leadership in our schools in this community at the moment, and I just wish them all of the best of luck in those positions.
And I would also like to thank the administrators that have been working hard to fill all the open positions, and it's very nice to see that long list, a longer list of filled positions than open positions. So nice job, nice work.
Again, welcome, Mr. Babcock. We're
Yes.
glad to have you with one of the most awesome districts around, which is Buchanan. All right, but we're glad to have you with us, and look forward to all of the good things you'll do with our students and staff over there. With that said, thank you, board members, for all your hard work as well. It's really appreciated. And our next board meeting is after I get old, September 19th. That's all right. It's the best month of the year, September. But anyway, our next board meeting is September 19th at 6 o'clock, and we stand adjourned.